Hello everyone, welcome back. This is your captain speaking from Tartarian Airlines. And let's go through and pick out the appropriate plane for today's tour. We are visiting probably the most unique city in the world, I would have to say. Definitely a special trip here. This is a long trip, and I suspect you will learn many things about this crazy town that we call Ashgabat, or that they call Ashgabat. It was actually renamed, and it is called Ashgabat. Well, in Turkmenistan, Ashgabat means City of Love, I believe. So yes, let's visit the City of Love. But behind the City of Love lies the two first presidents after they broke free from Russia when the USSR dissolved. Then this guy was their first president. And boy, is he just something else. So we're going to take you through all the good and the bad in this video of Ashgabat. So hang tight. Looking at my surroundings, I must start off with how this city really got built entirely in white marble. And it got hit by this earthquake in 1948. Turkmenistan as a country is located on the Silk Road, but also on a huge fault line. And it completely leveled this city, demolishing, some say, 98% of the buildings there. There were 170,000 people living there at that time, and it is reported that 110,000 perished. The recordings have been really loosely given, the reportings, because Russia had a ban on news at that time. So we don't really know the extent, but I believe that 100% of the city was pretty much taken down. Only some small rural buildings were left, but you're seeing these are some of the buildings from before. All made out of stone. All that's out of 170,000 people, I think they just didn't want to show you how many buildings were there with that few people living in that town. So, whether the earthquake was on purpose or natural, it demolished the entire city. For this tour, we have been given special access to depart from the Air Force Base. So this is west of Ashgabat, but honestly, I think I'm going to do a lot more videos on Turkmenistan, believe it or not. It is, I would consider, one of the cradles of civilization, as you'll see a little later. It was on the Silk Road, and there's just a lot of locations that are just really old and historic. But I wanted to start off in the rural areas of Ashgabat and just let you know that it's not just the town that is absolutely insane and unbelievable, but there's whole vacation towns. Also, you'll notice there's a lot of buildings like this that just have no name attached to it. You really can't find it online at all. I don't know what this building is used for, but look how elegant. That's a big square pool. Just look how amazing that is. That's got to be a private residence of someone. But yeah, so look at this river system that goes up. I guess it's the running water coming down from the mountains. That might be, pumped in water, that fountain. But it's just insane how many of these, I guess, resorts are just snaking up and down. It's like little oases, basically. You'll see, this is a full tour, you know, so sit back and relax and just kind of take in the pictures. Also, all this is basically I got from Google Maps. So if you really want to look for yourself, basically what I did is I used my Microsoft Flight Simulator. And if you've watched previous videos before, then you'll know that that game or that software I use, they really don't have an accurate depiction of the buildings unless the developers have gone in and manually, digitally designed off photographs or off, you know, whatever. Then they'll go in and they'll make the city more real. They'll make the buildings more real. But so I switched from that software to Google Maps, and then from Google Maps I will click on whatever building has an icon, and I'll search and see if they have any photos from the people who actually stayed there. So I think I kind of like that for these, I guess you would say, informational videos about some of these locations. Is I like, you know, flying over, seeing the whole land, because really just searching over Google Earth with your finger, you really don't get a grasp of how big the area is, or how big, you know, this is, or even the area. For instance, I did Machu Picchu as one of my first ones, and it's just amazing how far out in the middle of nowhere on top of a mountain Machu Picchu is. So I do like to see, I mean, look at that, there's all that desert there, but yet all that plush greenery and the cityscape, you know, the resorts all throughout the river or creek coming down the mountain. I mean, you would have never known it was there. Like, flying on this simulator, it doesn't look like anything's there. You did see a huge horse head, and that does represent their affinity for the horse, and not just any horse. I don't know the breed, but it's an Arabian style type of horse. It looks really nice, and it's almost kind of like a medium golden brown color. And here we go with some more resorts. I don't even think that these are available for tourists. I don't think you're allowed to, as a tourist, come and look at these or come and stay here. I think this is all for citizens of the country, or I don't know, of Islamic descent. I mean, I definitely think these are off limits to tourists. But one of the things I'm highlighting is there's no water in any of these pools. Not a single pool has water in it. Every single pool is completely empty. And that makes me wonder about the buildings themselves. You know, like those Chinese ghost towns where they will build these amazing buildings and no one lives in them. That kind of reminds me of this. I mean, who are these buildings here for? I mean, I see hardly any cars, right? Like, whatever cars are in the parking lot are probably the workers, because they're parked in the back, like furthest away from the building. Any cars that are there to use their services should be parked pretty close up front. Yeah, I mean, all together though, it's really nice. It seems like a really nice oasis, but look how all the buildings are just white. The broken pots there, you'll see why that is such a big deal for them. And it goes with their old civilization. And you can just see it's just lined. The whole valley is just lined with with hotels. It seems like, what, these are hotels, right? I mean, they got full-blown basketball courts, and it really seems like all of these are hotels. And they are all freaking empty. And look, they're all different too. That one's an S, and I haven't really read anything about this area and why they built so much out here. But they do have quite a few laws that are just absolutely ridiculous, and you know, kind of, I don't know, they just add to the mysteriousness of this country. So one of which is, if you're a tourist, you can only stay in specific hotels. So a lot of these nice hotels that we see online, which you'll see a little later, obviously, we're not even allowed to stay in them. As far as driving around here, you cannot drive your own vehicle here. So let's say the Tartarian Airlines group, we wanted to all go and visit this state, Ashgabat. First of all, let's just say we got accepted, all right? So let's start there. Let's start with, let's say we got accepted to come visit this place. There's only two ways that we are allowed to visit, and that's through a visa, or I forget the other one. Maybe I'll see it a little later when I start reading some info. Like a travel visa, and then one's like a different kind. But I've read a couple different things where, let's say you do get accepted for that second type of visa where you can stay longer. The longest anybody from another country can stay in this country is 1 month. That's it. 30 days. Once 30 days, you are... Now, let's say they catch you and it's been longer than 30 days. I think you got a 50-50 shot. You're going to get deported, but how long will they keep you locked up? So, like I said, this is just a weird place. I don't know what's worse, North Korea or Ashgabat. It seems like Ashgabat is a lot more, and I say a lot very lightly, it's a lot more acceptable to tourists than North Korea. You'll see a little later, and see, but right now, like, look at that, it's just completely empty. There's huge amphitheaters built and very nice, you know, very ornate, but yet no one is there. Look at all of that, and I think I'm gonna go further, like I said, and hit up, you know, going to the left, where we are, you know, going south, because we're going west now. So going south, that is like Iraq or Iran, I forget which one. And there's some other countries too, but right here is the zoo. I don't want to show you any more pictures other than this, because this is pretty much the nicest picture that I found. But the zoo's way out there, and then also right next to it is the horse breeding station and race course. I mean, they love their horses. This is not the last time you'll see horse statues or horse monuments. But look at all the entrances. I mean, all the entrances are just absolutely massive. All the architecture is massive. And you see, this is one of the those ones that are shown with the leader or on pictures are all the golden ones, and these are probably the ones they use for show or whatever. But yeah, way out here to the west, they are expanding a whole bunch. That's why I like, because right now I'm flying over it and I don't see anything interesting. I mean, I see these like highway roundabouts over here, and of course that's what I'm drawn to, but right below us they are building a huge town. I mean, look how geometric it is. Look at those huge star buildings, and then they got a horseshoe building right next to like a tower building. That horseshoe building had some sort of tower on top of it, so I don't know. I don't think they have casinos here. I haven't heard anything about that as far as the laws are concerned. But I do know that every building has to have a horse and the leader in their, I think, foyer or somewhere. I mean, I think almost all the pictures, all the photos, if you put them inside a hotel, I think they have to be of a horse or of the leader. But I mean, they decorate everything. They honestly, I don't even think a month would be enough in just this state, or like, you know, just in this area. I think everything is so decorated. But the odd thing is they don't allow you to take photos of a lot of stuff. So I say they're a lot more accepting of tourists than, let's say, North Korea. But they might even be more strict on some things than North Korea. I had mentioned that I really like using this app because I could look at that. You can see the whole land. You see how big it is. But also, it's not updated very currently. So like that whole town that we saw, that looks like right now, that's what it is right there. But yet you go on Google Maps and you see there was a whole town being built. So that's why I'm kind of, this video itself has taken me almost 2 months to make. I first heard of this town on Facebook in one of the groups I'm in, and it speculated that there was free energy here. And I thought to myself, there's no way. There's no way there's free energy here because the New World Order and America would not let it escape. You know, there's no way. So that's where I got started. I got started because I wanted to just come here, and I mean, I like to consider myself a debunker. So I don't believe anything at first until I start researching it myself, which I think everyone should be like that. You know, I've told you already, like, hey, go on Google Maps and take a look for yourself. You know, go check out your own images. But really, what I show you, this is all factual. This is everything I'm showing you can be researched easily. You don't have to believe me. I do this for fun, so I really don't care about links. I don't even put a description in my videos because really, I'm just an artist, all right? I'm not trying to make money off of this. I think this is cool. This is that Air Force base that we took off. And man, those jets are active. You know, those 2 jets right there, that is an active runway right there. And I'm just kind of checking out their whole stuff here, see what's going on. And you can see here some more active planes here. I don't know why. I mean, they are a independent state. They consider themselves neutral, a neutral country. So they're not for or against anyone. You know, they got a lot of military power here. They are on the border of Iran. So maybe they need it, you know, for protection. But I don't know. I mean, I guess Russia could take them over, or anybody could, I guess, really. But, you know, this is nothing compared to Russia. All of this here, this is just like one base in Russia, but this is just all their stuff for Ashgabat. You know what I mean? I don't know if they have any other military bases in the entire country of Turkmenistan, but it seems like they've put all their resources into this one town. You'll see a little bit later, but I might as well touch on it now, is they really force their citizens to come to this town. Hospitals. The dictator has closed all hospitals and fired all doctors in rural areas. And he is quoted as saying, if you're sick, then you need to come to the capital. So it seems like everything kind of just runs out of the capital, and that would make me assume that this is their only Air Force base in all of Turkmenistan. But like I said, I'm going to take some more tours, and you know, I'll confirm that, and hopefully you'll be along for those trips as well. And this tour and my planes, you do not have to be vaccinated, and I do not require proof. As a matter of fact, I would prefer if you're not vaccinated, but hey, I'm not going to judge anyone. Personally, I've already had the COVID, so I have a high immunity, naturally. And look at this. This is called Old Nisa. And, man, this is an old ruin right here. This town is like the 250 BC era. Like the Parthians, I heard in some reading over here. There's quite a few ruins, but look at the brick. That brick lasted since 250 BC. Lasted an earthquake that completely ruined an entire town. And I wouldn't say it's still standing. I mean, obviously, look at that. The big, massive mudflood has gone through, but could you imagine the entire landscape is probably like that? Like the digging, and here's for you melted mountains. But just imagine, like, it's probably like this everywhere, right? Just ruins everywhere, right under our feet. I heard recently some article, new technology came out that is going to allow us to basically radar under the ground. It's going to allow us to see everything, even just a couple feet under the ground. There is the crushed pottery I told you you would see a little later, and that's why they have a lot of crushed pottery sculptures in some of these places for decoration, because they know how old this place was. And that's the thing with communist Russia. They try to get rid of the other countries surrounding them. They're trying to get rid of their past, and they try to erase it. And I almost kind of think that's what the past two presidents have done here. Well, actually, I shouldn't say that, because I bet if there was no earthquake, they would probably have left those buildings there how they were. I don't know, but maybe not, because the two presidents that run this country, which, by the way, here are some more ruins covered up by farmland. They had missions in their head. So this country is very rich. They're like number 4 in oil in the entire world. And they're very high in natural gas too. So no, I don't think they're using free energy. However, I think there's a possibility they could be using it in a different way that isn't so obvious. So, these leaders, they have specific goals. And, well, for a second, look at this mark right here. We've seen that in another part of the country too. Those exact 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then the square in the middle. We've seen that in that last video I made of the beach town out in the desert. So yeah, that's another reason why I like to use this app, is because, and actually this style of research, because I would have never found those if I had just been searching through Google Maps. All I would have been doing is just focus on the buildings and looking at the buildings. But when you're out here exploring the entire land, that's when you start seeing things that are, I would say, off the beaten path, that you would not really typically find on Google Maps. So I do like this style of exploration, and I hope you do as well. I think it adds to the stories we hear about these towns. But going back to, look at this. This is the Mausoleum and the Mosque for Turkmen Bashi. And that was the first president, that first statue that I showed you in the beginning of the video. That's for this guy, or this is for that guy. His mausoleum is there. He built that for him, which, as you can see, it doesn't look perfect. Sorry, I come from America. I lived in Vegas for 2 years. I'm used to seeing, like, actual, like good architecture. And so that leads me to a couple of things. There's so many rules and regulations, but they don't let you get close to these monuments. You're not allowed to walk on these monuments and get close-up photos. There are some things they allow you to take pictures of and they don't really bother you. But if you're there taking photos of monuments, first of all, there's probably going to be some sort of guard or police or National Guard, watching you, because they know you're there. There's not that many people in the first place. So if an American comes, they're going to have someone watching you. They probably want to make sure you're not a spy, first of all. But also they want to make sure that you don't take close-up photos of any of these government buildings. Part of me thinks the reason why is they want to look like they're the number one society in the world, probably. And that's why they have so many white marble buildings. As a matter of fact, they have a Guinness Book of World Record as the most marbled city in the world. And I think they want to look a certain way, but then once you actually get there, you realize, like, ooh, this is like a fourth world country, not even a third world country. The rules there are just so insane that it's just unbelievable. So I think they want to look good in photos, but they don't want you to see the actual goods. You know what I mean? Like you buy something on Amazon, it looks really good in the photo, but then you get it and it's like, man, what the hell? Look at that. That looks just absolutely freaking amazing, right? And yet, it's only a facade. All of these buildings you see, they were built normal, but then they were just faceted with marble. Thin marble sheets of those squares, you see? That's what they ordered, a whole ton. I mean, they ordered, I think they got them from Turkey, all the marble. But they just ordered the white marble slabs and then just glued them, or however you facet. They just glue them on the walls to make it look amazing. And in every roundabout, there's like a crazy sculpture. Like, to me, when I started doing all this research, I was like, man, I'd actually like to live here, or, I don't know, work there, because of all the artwork that he has us do. Now, this is a little weird. So, this is the new president who took office after the first president of that statue I showed you. And they just have a total disregard for animals. You know what I mean? Like, look at the way he's just... This is national press. And he's handling their national dog like that. And even Putin is like, whoa, as soon as he saw them hang up the dog like that by the scruff of his neck, Putin got up right away and took the dog, and look how he's holding him. He even gave him little kisses. So if that guy can treat an animal like that better, just imagine what the other leader, how he treats his people. So I know a lot of people probably have issues with Putin right now, but that's not the point of this story. I'm just saying, like, if you think Putin is bad and look how he treated that dog, just imagine what that guy does. He even banned black cars. He says it's too dirty, but yet look at him. He's coming out of a black car. This is probably a different country or something, but he even banned sports cars. This guy, he banned sports cars, but yet he has a $2.3 million sports car. There's that royal horse there. I mean, look at the stirrups are just padded. And, man, this guy here. I'm about to get into a lot of laws with y'all. And I've only scratched the surface. So I hope you don't mind this long video. I was thinking about cutting up in two halves. I was like, no, forget that. We're just going to burl on through, because I got like a bunch of other videos that have just been stacking up. and I've just been forcing myself to get through this. So there's a lot here to look at, but yeah, there's a lot of things they don't let you take pictures of because I just don't think they want you to see what they really do here. Reporters, you know, they are very heavily censored. Like I said, the Americans, I was kind of starting about how to get a visa here. Look at that, that's cool. We're probably never going to be able to see what that's really for. But yeah, so if you stay here for that long visa, which is never going to happen, then yeah, you have plenty of time to explore places like this. But the other type of visa is just like a traveler's visa. You just go through, and I think you're only here for like 5 days. I think you can only be here for 5 days with that type of visa. And you can go to these places. There is a driver that can take you. There's a guided tour for... okay, yeah, so there's 2 types of ways to visit. There's the guided tour, which like they have a high acceptance rate. And then there is the 5-day visa. And that has a high decline rate. I've heard that Russia, they have like a 90% decline rate. They do like Western countries here, but I still think that it's probably a 70% chance of getting declined from another country. Maybe me, I can probably say, hey, look, I'm an artist and I just want to come and draw for 5 days. I bet you something crazy like that, because I guarantee every visa application, they probably show the president and they're like, look, do you want this guy? Because there's probably not a lot of people wanting visas here. So I think if I put down something crazy like, yo, I'm an artist and I want to draw I want to draw buildings here, I bet you they'd be like, okay, come on in. Now there is the guided tours where there is a driver that will pick you up from the airport. And look at that, that's medical disease. And you see how every car is white because he did ban those black cars. He said it was too dirty and he didn't like the way that they looked. So, but yeah, so as soon as you get here on the airport, then someone picks you up and he is assigned to you for the duration of your stay. So, see, like all these buildings are brand new. All of them are new ever since the earthquake. They basically rebuilt this entire town 100% from scratch. So yeah, there'll be someone to pick you up and they're with you the whole time. Alright, sorry, but look at all those cars for just those buildings. Like, that's something weird right there. There's something weird going on there. Like with that go-kart place and all those cars are there. That's just really weird. Anyways, yep, so from this airport, someone will pick you up and they're with you the entire time and they take you to the hotel. And as a traveler, you are billed every single day that you're there, and it's $2 a day. Isn't that weird? They charge you to be in their country $2 a day. Like, I mean, this airport is absolutely beautiful. It's an international airport. And look, of course, there's that picture of the leader there. I'm not lying. I mean, they have to have him there. And this is an international airport that apparently gets no international travel, believe it or not. This is probably some sort of convention. That's why there were so many people there. But I've read stories that it's just completely empty, that there's just never anyone there. Like, look at that building, something like that, and it stays empty. I mean, it's just really, really weird. I wouldn't really say it's a waste of money, but they had a goal in mind. Building something like this, you have a purpose. Like, there's a reason. But once again, you get so close, and it doesn't really look that good. You can see here, all Turkmenistan airlines except for one Turkish Airlines. These are all staying pretty much in the country. So they built an international airport for no international flights. So you see what I mean? Is they want to look like they're super busy, that they're a, you know, world power, but yet they don't allow anyone here, and the people who are here, they don't allow them to do nothing. So all these beautiful monuments here, I mean, like I said, every single roundabout has some sort of fountain or monument or sculpture. The amount of fountains are just, it's just ridiculous. And I would say for the most part, except for the ones that are in the roundabouts, I would say like the ones in town, I'd say most of the fountains are probably dry. Maybe like the elaborate ones they keep, but they really just, it's just all show. There are 3 things that they love besides the president. They love rugs and carpets, which is this building here. They love their horses, which you've seen already, and then they love that dog, which you saw that statue of. They pretty much build statues of whatever they love. And I wouldn't say they, I would say just the leader. So yeah, I mean, every building got built from scratch again. Everything got facaded with this marble. Like everything got faced with marble. And then they show the world, they're like, hey Guinness, come look at our city. We have the most marble that you'll find in any city. I'm sure they paid them a pretty penny too to come there. But yeah, I don't know if the Guinness Book of World Record person actually, you know, walked up to each one and touched the front. Part of me thinks that most of it is just like white concrete or something, or some white stone. I mean, I guess that would be marble. I mean, the easiest thing I think is they just got the thin sheets and just glued them up on the front of the buildings. Let's see what else we got going on here. Yeah, the bazaar that you saw, that huge building, they don't allow photos of that place. I think those were photos from locals, and then they just uploaded them on Google Maps. But if you're a tourist, you're not allowed to take that photo. Now, way out here, that's what I'm saying, is like there's so much more that I just didn't even cover. I really should have broken down in 2 parts, but really this whole town is probably a 5-part, you know, series. I ain't about that. I want to move on to other locations. But look at that, way out here, there's a feather museum. Oh, I think that's for wheat. But anyways, just these weird buildings are everywhere. Like I said, look at that sculpture here. There's another old mound system. They're just everywhere in between the cities, like in between the civilization, in between the towns, in between houses. There's these mounds that they don't touch. And this is what that one looks like. Been buried a bunch, of course. Yeah, there's just these type of buildings. Okay, so when I go on the other tours of Turkmenistan, you'll see that these type of buildings are just absolutely massive. And look at the brickwork again. They were doing bricks such a long time ago. And they do love their horses. So this is the horse track. There's a horseshoe-shaped building. And I bet once they built that, they're like, I mean, we can build one bigger. So that's why they did that in that first area that we looked at. But we literally scanned this whole area. All this, could you just imagine, was just nothing but rubble. Just all dirt and messed up buildings. And then they rebuilt the whole thing. I don't know how many billions it took. There was some number. But this is such a reclusive country that they're not going to tell you anything that they don't want you to know. they're probably not going to tell you the real cost of these buildings. Also, these buildings, even though they were made by a construction firm or a architecture firm, you will not find out. They don't give out the information of who built these buildings. They'll say, now some of them do. They say, oh, a Turkish company, came over here and worked with them. But the actual architect, they don't give credit to. They give credit to Turkmen Bashi and the new president, because this isn't their vision. This was his vision. So basically, he went to an architecture firm, supposedly. That's like the whole North Korea thing. He went to the architecture firm and said, I want the building like this. And they're like, okay. So the credit goes to Turkmen Bashi and the president. The credit will never go to the artist or the architect. Now, this is a weird building here. I thought at first this was his own private collection, but now I think it's just for show of what they can build or whatever. I don't know. Maybe it's not what they can build, but what they can buy. Because those planes, they can't leave those areas. You know what I mean? I mean, the helicopters, they can just wheel those out, but yeah, you see every single building. It's just white. But yeah, there's so many weird rules that they have. Here's what looks like a spy plane, right? They are a totalitarian regime, and if you don't really know the rules, then you could really get in trouble. So for instance, I was reading something about now the streets, they have a curfew of like 9 p.m. I believe, either 9 or 11 p.m. I'm thinking it was more like, it might even be 10 p.m. right in between the two of them. Anyways, they have a curfew, and this one tourist, there's their circus, which actually was banned at one point, but now they reinstated it. This one guy was traveling, and he was walking around the town, and a car full of guys came up and looked like military gear and almost tried to take him away and says, hey, what are you doing here? And they looked at his camera, and they almost took him and said, look, we're gonna have to take you into the police, and we're gonna have to pay a fine. Here's the building that was there before that. And he says, no, that's fine. No, I'll leave, go straight to my hotel right now. And they said, okay, you better go straight to your hotel. And he goes, yes, I'm going right now. So as he walked away to go back to his hotel, that car made a U-turn, stopped at the corner, and made sure he walked back to his hotel room. They don't allow any loitering, so you can't just walk around. Like, you have to have a reason, almost like Australia and COVID nowadays. You have to have a reason to leave your home. Basically, you have to have verifiable proof of what you're doing. Also, that guy who got stopped, he says probably what you should do if you do come here and visit is leave your actual passport in a safe place, and then take a copy of your passport with you whenever you're out walking around. That way they can't actually hold your passport. Also, I probably wouldn't leave it in the hotel, because then what if you can't get access back into your hotel for some reason? So to me, you almost have to be like a James Bond, like put your passport in a safe place somewhere. There are cameras in a lot of places in Turkmenistan, so you're gonna have to find out some blind spots. They took all that oil money and natural gas that's from the country, and they just, to me, I think why invest in all these amazing looking buildings if no one's gonna come here and see? But I think it was just for him. I think it's whenever the supreme leader wants to drive around and go somewhere, he just wants to look at amazing buildings. There's no other reason to do it. There's no other reason to spend money I mean, look at this stuff. Looks like this. Like, come on now. It looks like Soviet era, you know, dystopian scenes and decaying urban areas right next to this grand white marble city, and the streets, like the main streets, are cleaned every single day. I mean, they're probably cleaned 3 or 4 or 5 times a day. That's what the leader wants. The leader wants the streets completely clean, and I guess he wants nobody on the streets. So, yeah, it's a 50-50 spot, you know, on going here. I mean, I think they would actually respect us going there as Westerners. But, you know, the energy thing, I'm just still stuck on. I have kind of seen some, I think, because in all these pictures, I haven't seen any electrical cables, unless they're buried underground. You know, I did read something that some of their power lines for the earthquake, they were those are water pipes underground in the water pipes. Apparently the water pipes didn't bust in the earthquake somehow, but all those buildings got demolished. Like, literally, that's what I read. I read that the water pipes were intact, but yet all the buildings were completely destroyed. So how does that happen? Anyways, back to electricity. I don't see a lot of power lines. I don't see any power lines, so that means they gotta be built underneath the ground, the power lines. For all these little, you know, street lamps, there's gotta be underground. I mean, the buildings that we haven't really even gotten into the real energy collection buildings, or maybe that's what all these antennas are, because the new building codes, they require all buildings to have a dome, and they require all buildings to have a spire on the top for a flagpole. I wonder if the requirement is because that's how they harness the energy, if this is a free energy place. To me, I think it's all a facade. Once again, I don't think they have real free energy, and I don't think they have real, I don't know, I can't really say that they don't have real buildings that can conduct energy, because I think you put a metal pole on anything and you can probably pull in the ether and get that free electricity just from the air. So I think it doesn't have to be a real marble building, you know, like what they built back in the 1500s or earlier. It might not have to be a real marble building to extract the energy from the ether. So I still think it's very possible that they could be using free energy for a lot of the electricity used in this town. Some other rules for their buildings is you're not allowed to advertise. There's no signage, so you can't put a sign in front of your building for what your company is. And if you do have a sign, it has to be in words. It has to be the store name, and there's only 3 fonts available for business owners to choose from. So the only sign you can have for your business is letters, and they have to have certain fonts. And another thing is, none of these buildings, you can tell what they are. So, for instance, they're not allowed to really individualize themselves. They pretty much have to be like called auto shop or auto accessories. And then, like, I guess it's whatever the owner's name is, auto accessories. But there's no, like, you know, There's no like Raymond's Body Shop specialized in imports. It's all just electric store, grocery store, hair store. You know, it's not anything that shows individualism. There's no individualism here. I did a lot of looking through small business building pictures because I wanted to see like what they're selling there. And yeah, sure enough, I mean, first of all, the building looks like a strip mall on the inside. So all these nice buildings you see, well, maybe not these right here, but the ones we were just over, they look nice in the front, but there's nothing behind them. It's just a facade. Sometimes they just have light on the inside of the building to make it seem like there's people in there. But like an entire building, let's just say, just look at one building there and just imagine there's probably only one store in there in that whole building. It's the oddest thing in the world. Like, who knows? No one's allowed, no foreigner is allowed inside a place like that. And I wonder if it looks good at all. You know what I mean? That's just a facade right there. So I wonder if they even have free electricity. Because if everything else that I've seen from them is a facade and made to look like that, like, I don't know if you noticed, but that bottom story with the big tall windows, it's all empty. Look at, I saw some lights on the inside and it was just a big empty space room. So I think that's another reason why they don't want you to get too close, is they really don't want you to see past the facade. And maybe that's why they built their buildings like this, is because they wanted you to think that they have free energy or that they're just so advanced. Look at the gold dome. I guarantee that they're probably not extruding electricity from there. I would almost guarantee that they're not using free energy, and I would more put my money on what they have the rest of the world using, which is coal and natural gas. And I think that they just are putting up a facade of like, look how grand we are. We're like the Venetian times, or, you know, look at that. So I don't think they're using free energy. That's just my personal opinion. Another crazy thing about these buildings is you notice that they're all built with stairs leading up to them. And he wanted that. A lot of the Ashgabat locals who live here, that's another reason why you don't see that many people. It's because they hate going upstairs for everything. A lot of them have complained that the stairs are just too tall, and so the stores will remain empty. So like, you run an auto store for auto parts, and you're in one of these buildings that they force you to pretty much have, and your customer base just dwindles because they don't want to walk up the stairs. I mean, where can you unload car supplies? You know what I mean? So it's really weird how they did this. And also, the big grand doors in the front of these buildings are apparently never used, and only for whenever the president comes and visits that building. So just keep that in mind. This big old huge doors that you see, they're just never even used. You have to enter through the side or the back because, well, that's the first president. But the second guy you saw holding the dog, so that he could walk in there and use the main doors. That's crazy. Besides the circus being banned, also the opera was banned, but I think that's back now. Also, no building is supposed to look the same. So you saw all those buildings back there? Every single one has to have a difference. I think this is one of the banks. All the banks, each bank has to be different. I think that might be a bank too. Each bank has to look different, and I think that's one too. There's a lot of buildings I left out that I just couldn't really fit in. I mean, what I did is I did the tour first over land. I mean, like, you know, in the air. I scanned as much as I could, you know, north, south, east, west, up and down, left and right, and then I match it up with Google Earth. So, and I can't really tell what's built or what's not when I'm in the air. So I have to like really cover all the areas so that I can go back and verify the buildings on Google Maps. But yeah, you can see they all have to have a dome, they all have to have a spire, they all have to look different, and that was the rules. This place looks like a death trap. This is like visiting Saw, like a Saw amusement park. That looks like a death trap. And I mean, it looks nice. Look at that. It looks pretty nice. And then you got a river of death here. It looks like that child is just dead in there. They're just trying to get out. I thought that was kind of funny. Because it's like, all right, I call this like ghetto fabulous, where you live in a ghetto, but yet you have a Mercedes in the driveway. That's kind of how I see this place. This place is ghetto fabulous. It's made to look like an imperial palace, but yet the inhabitants are like freaking like Mongols. Like, not to say that in a bad way, but I mean, they're not used to this, you know, like, you know, the saying like, oh, we can't keep nothing nice. Well, they can't keep nothing nice. I mean, a lot of the stuff is just dirty. They can't keep it up enough. They built so much that it's just hard for them to maintain, I believe. They're even trying to build a monorail. Or maybe they did, actually. There's a lot of articles are old. You know, a lot of articles I read are like years between each other. So they say things are one way, and then I read, you know, something else, and it's another way. But yeah, apparently this is called Olympic Park, but I don't think Olympics are ever going to be here. I hate to say it. You know, you see that revered horse right there, and that just looks satanic to me. You know, right? That looks ominous. Like, it just looks satanic. And then you put that star there, and it's like, what? I know it's supposed to be like the Jewish star, but I mean, I think others know that it's like a Saturn symbol, basically. It's like a, or what is it? It's a upside down and right side up triangle, right? Look at all those triangles. Anyways, I get off subject sometimes. I'm just trying to remember other things as I go through these, because I've read up on a bunch of the laws, and as I get through these photos, they kind of like, you know, jog a little bit. But just look how amazing that looks. Absolutely amazing, and yet not a soul there. The streets are to remain clean at all times. It's just absolutely crazy. Also, no smoking is allowed in public. Turkmen Bashi quit, and because of that, everyone else had to quit. And even after Turkmen Bashi died, the ban still continues. Smoking is definitely allowed. Cigarette stands on every corner are a testament to that. However, the rule of no public smoking is enforced. One of the drivers of the Aston Martin Tokyo to London team, I guess it was a sports racing team, he was fined $100 by the Turkmen Highway Police for smoking in his own car. So there's absolutely no smoking in public when you're driving through. I mean, I guess you gotta like park underground somewhere, or you better, if you really need a cigarette, you better figure it out. And there's also no drugs allowed. There's definitely no weed. That's gonna be pretty tough for me. Now, that's something that might be tough for the ladies, is no spandex is allowed. Literally. So it is un-Turkmen and it's vain. we're gonna get to the wedding palace here. I think it's pretty close to the end. I don't know. But they have a certain number that is allowed to attend a wedding. They say it's to help families to avoid from going broke. But yeah, apparently there's only a certain amount of people who are allowed to see you get married. There hasn't been any reports of attendance police yet, but I wouldn't try and test it, and I wouldn't go there to get married anyways. Not at the place that they say is for weddings. So like all these buildings right here, I believe these are like a lot of them are privately owned for royalty or for higher ups. Man, I just wonder what is up with all the symmetry. This, I don't know. I mean, to me, those symbols, they attract energy, right? Whatever. Also, another crazy law. Do not abandon your car there. So if you happen to be driving through the country for some reason in your own car, which none of us will probably ever do, that tree is also significant. Hold on. That tree was also very significant because apparently after the earthquake, the city center became triage, and there was like one tree standing and everybody got helped under that tree. So all the statues are for a reason. But back to the car thing. So let's say, so like somebody, let's say there was a rally organizer, and before someone like was with him, he said, "Do not leave your car in Turkmenistan. Do everything you can to get it across the border, even if you have to push it or drag it. Otherwise, we may never see you again. So do not even leave an abandoned car there, because if it's registered to you, they'll track you down and they'll send you to prison." Some people say even worse. Could you imagine that? An abandoned car and you could just disappear? Like, that's what I mean by they want the streets cleared. I mean, they really want all these sites cleared. The stupid president, he probably never even goes to these places, but still, it doesn't matter. I mean, he built this whole town basically just for himself. That's just absolutely crazy. So yeah, oh, and that book right there, that book was written by the first president, Turkmen Bashi, and he required that book be inserted into school, and anyone after his reign, whenever he started, citizens were actually given quizzes before driving tests. All government employees had to know that, and all regular citizens, they pretty much have like a class to attend, and they have to read it. It's just, and so, oh yeah, and another crazy thing, Turkmen Bashi in that book, he told all mosque leaders to also read verses from that book alongside the Quran. And a lot of Muslims didn't like that. Like devout Muslims from probably other parts of Turkmenistan, or maybe even within Turkmenistan, I mean, the Quran is the Quran. Like, there's no other book. Kind of like how a lot of, Christians or Catholics are like, look, the only book that matters is, well, we're not really like that. I wouldn't say Catholics are really like that. But like the Bible. It's not just Catholics who like the Bible. I mean, Christianity is, I guess Muslims are the number one religion. I don't know, as far as people are concerned. So that offended a lot of people whenever he forced the rabbis, or whatever they call them, to also read his own book. And his own book actually mirrored some parts of the Quran as far as like the meaning of his book, but he also included poems, personal stories, This Turkmen Bashi president, he even renamed, like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, he renamed the days of the week. He renamed the entire month of January. I think he renamed all months to something different. Like for instance, one of the months he named was after his mother. He even changed a word in the Turkmen dictionary to his mother's name, which I think was I forgot what it was. It had something to do with like motherly love, or it was some word that he completely changed, and he named it after his mother's name. That's how crazy this place is. To me, I don't think I'd go here, to tell you the truth. Another crazy rule or law is there's no gold teeth allowed. So you're not allowed to have any gold teeth. There's a story out there where Turkmen Bashi was walking, saw some local smile at him. She had a whole rack of gold teeth, and he didn't like that. He said that the reason why people use gold teeth is because they have poor diet, which I believe. But he also said this. He said, take your gold teeth out and start gnawing on bones. He said the reason why you have bad teeth is because you don't chew on bones like dogs do. And then he went on further and said, you know, when I was growing up, we had a dog, and he never needed to fix his teeth because he always chewed on bones. He said bones give you strong teeth. He treats his people like dogs. I'm telling you. He told his people that gold teeth are not allowed, that they need to chew on bone like a dog does. Like, you really think he cares about his people? As a tourist, I would say you're even under more scrutiny, although at the same time, you're probably allowed a little bit of leeway, but on some things, it's just unacceptable. For instance, Turkmen ladies there, you cannot talk to a Turkmen lady. I saw a story of a traveler. I guess he was of African descent, and he's just a traveler, like a blogger or whatever. Speaking of blogging, I have another story, but he said he had to delete some photos because there were some compromising images of him and a Turkmen woman. He didn't say if he did anything. I don't think he did, but it could be just hugs or something. And he left one photo in his phone, and it showed a Turkmen girl and him just, side by side smiling, like taking a selfie. And man, they almost sent him to jail for that. But his story, they believed. Whatever story he told, I don't remember what it was. But there was a reason why he had that picture with her. And he told them, and they said, okay, fine, whatever. But yeah, I wouldn't go there, and it says the city of love, but I wouldn't go there for love if that's what you're trying to do. I had mentioned something about blogging that I need to get back to it. It reminds me of something. And yeah, if you're a traveler from, let's say, America or Australia or whoever, you're basically, an ambassador to that country. And they do hold you to those standards. So like blogging, if you're a blogger and you go there, you have to be aware of the words that you say and the pictures you take. 100%, or else they'll probably North Korea you, and you won't see the light of day because they'll think you're some spy or something. But yeah, when you're there and you're blogging and you're taking videos of yourself and pictures of these places, you better say the right things, and because they will look at your photos and they will look at your videos, and then they will determine whether or not you're telling the truth or not. But it's just crazy. Look at that. Just every patch in town is just... I don't understand it. I don't understand those, you know, images. Maybe some other people do. But anyways, yeah, just be careful if you're blogging or saying anything. I mean, you really gotta... A lot of these photos are actually taken, maybe not these, but a lot of photos of the monuments are taken from a car, because they're not going to stop and let you walk around, you know, and not just anywhere. There's specific places for that they tell your personal, I wouldn't say bodyguard, but your chauffeur, you know. Also, a lot of these hotels, you can't even walk up to them. You can't walk up to a hotel. You can't walk into the city capital. You have to enter by car, because they don't want to look like just bums are walking around. I mean, they see everything, and they know what you're doing. Apparently, this is the 7th least visited country in the world. You know, most people don't know what to expect. They don't understand that this is probably just as rough as North Korea. I mean, that's the wedding chapel. Literally. Like, anyways. Other facts about this place is if you're a man and you're gay, now, it's not illegal to be gay, but it is illegal to show that in public. Yeah, I probably wouldn't show any public displays of affection if you are in the LGBT community. So yeah, stay away from that. Let's see. Yeah, you definitely can't be flirting with other girls that are Turkmen if you're a guy. Photographing official buildings is forbidden. And I also read that when you're coming off the plane, make sure, first of all, that you bring US dollars, and make sure you bring cash, because they only allow cash as their, well, they only allow American cash as their currency. Not even their own currency is really used in this town. It can't be just American dollars, though. It has to be clean and crisp American dollars, literally. Like, you pay pretty much $2.50 as soon as you get off the plane for these, you know, crazy weird taxes. Plus then that $2 a day. So yeah, if you want to come here and have fun and you want to spend some money, you make sure you bring the money in cash, which to me doesn't seem the safest, right? I mean, if you have no ways to protect yourself and you've got a few $1,000s in cash, I mean, I think they even tell you not to travel in cash in pretty much every civilized country. So I think, I mean, really you're safe from being attacked in this country outside of the government. I would say you have a high chance of getting stopped by the government if you're here doing something. But also, hey, you got that cash on you, give them $100, boom, I bet they'll let you go. Because the normal person's, the normal citizen's monthly income is about $300 to $500. Could you imagine making $300 to $500 a month? And then, you know, that's why I think this place is so crazy. Because the people make so little money, but yet they built this huge destination town, like this huge tourism town. And they're only going to charge tourists $2 a day to stay there. And you're only allowed to stay there for 5 days. So the most they can make off a tourist, just off their tax, is $10? Seriously? Things just don't add up here. That resort town, like, so So all those resorts that I showed you in the valley, not only are Americans and nobody else allowed to really go visit there, but the people make so little money, how can they even afford to stay there? They have to use their whole month's salary for a weekend of fun. It just doesn't seem right. I mean, the leaders, they named towns after themselves. He literally named Turkmen Bashi after him. And I mean, the book that he made, he even sent it into space. I mean, this place is just, you can't make this stuff up. He also, that guy, that statue, he also is known for building these huge, long cement stairs across the mountain. And it was called like the Walk of Health or something. Yeah, it is called the Walk of Health. So he built a 23-mile-long trail, mostly steep concrete stairs, built along the mountains just outside the capital. And he felt that the ministers were getting too fat. Like the people working for him were just getting too fat. And so he built this, and he has forced all his citizens to make the Walk of Health once a year. He ordered them. There's even a famous, like, I don't know if the photo's out, but there's a famous story that the president himself took his whole crew and said, hey, all his ministers, and said, hey, y'all got to go ahead and do this Walk of Health. And he famously took his helicopter and met them at the finish line and took photos of them with them at the finish line. He took his helicopter. He told everyone, you have to do this. But yet he has never once been seen doing it himself. Now this is just crazy. Look at that huge parking lot there to the left. I don't know what this building is for. It's not on Google. It's not on the game that I use yet. But it's obviously been there for a while. Look at this crazy road. And then that parking lot, like what parks here? What is this? Is this a runway for a plane? I don't see any planes here. I mean, I see no skid marks of planes ever touching down. If this is a runway for a plane, do they just clean the skid marks off? I mean, this is what I'm talking about, man. Look at that person doing donuts there the whole time. Like, seriously? You see tire tracks there, but you don't see tire tracks anywhere else. I mean, this is out of the world. Like, you can enter it. Looks like there's no gate. That's why I think this is so weird. And then that goes under. You see how that goes under? This is just absolutely insane. But, oh yeah, men are banned from having beards until they're old, like 70 years old or something. You have to be clean shaven, and you can't have any long hair. There's just, I don't know. There's so many. Oh yeah, he banished dogs from the capital because he found dogs have an unappealing odor. So, yeah. This place is, I don't know. Y'all tell me in the comments. First of all, was this video too long? Did I miss anything? Was there anything that you learned from this? They do hold the Guinness Book of World Records for many things. One of the things I had showed earlier, I think I was talking over it though, was the thermostat. They have a Guinness Book of World Records for biggest thermostat in the world. But I still think that's the one in Baker, California. I don't know. At least that's what Wikipedia says currently. He also banned all lip syncing during concerts. Isn't that weird? So whatever song is going on, you're not allowed to lip sync it. You gotta, I guess, fully sing it. Car radios are banned. Yeah, news reporters and TV presenters are banned from wearing makeup on TV, saying that they should appear natural. He banned makeup in Turkmenistan due to the locals' natural beauty and no need for makeup. He ordered all government employees to quit smoking. He requested an ice skating rink should be built near Ashgabat so the people living in the desert learn how to ice skate. When taking your driver's license, all drivers are required to pass a morality test. Yeah, in 2004, he fired 15,000 doctors and health workers all over the country, and in 2005, all hospitals outside the capital of Ashgabat were shut, with the reasoning that all sick should come to the capital for treatment. He found it to be a waste of money with the healthcare outside the capital. I mean, this country is huge, and they're making these sick people travel. So, oh yeah, at the same time, he closed down all libraries outside the capital for the reason that people in the countryside couldn't read, according to him. People in the country couldn't read. So here's that famous, not a lot of people have seen the inside of the world's largest Ferris wheel. And this is one of those things on the Facebook groups that people really gravitate towards and think that this is free energy. However, I was explaining to you, I don't know if that's the case. I don't know if this harnesses any free energy. That's at one point going to be a forest. But I don't know, like, could you imagine running cable for all those light fixtures? So I almost kind of think that only the light fixtures and only the lamps are of free energy. I mean, that's just my personal belief. We'll never get close enough to find the truth, but it just seems very, very hard to have so many lamps, so many lampposts, and so much lighting for so few people. And it would seem very hard to just lay down that much copper cable, copper wire, you know what I mean? It'd be much easier to just stick those poles in there, put a bulb on top, and it's attracted to the ether that the other buildings are giving off. Back to some crazy rules here. All physicians were ordered to swear an oath to the president instead of the Hippocratic oath. So the Hippocratic oath is what doctors take from like the, Aristotle time. I will not purposely hurt someone with my, medical knowledge, stuff like that. In 2006, all video games were banned for being too violent for the young Turkmen. All video games. Now, it also says that most of these rules fell away after the death of the person we're talking about. But then the new guy who took over, that I showed you with the dog, he has enforced even more bizarre laws. That's the whole black car thing, is he doesn't like black cars, stuff like that. But yeah, this place, there's a lot more rules and laws. There's a bunch more like weird buildings that we're never ever going to be able to see, really, unless throughout the years. Look at that one pole there. See there's got to be some free energy there, man. Right? Anyways. Yeah, unless we just wait years and years and years for these tourists to put up more photos, but it's not heavily toured. And, the photos are very select on what they allow out. So, either one of us in the community goes there and maybe shares on Facebook what we found. but I believe this is the last building that we visit. And this is the TV communication tower. It's won multiple awards for its architecture, like innovative architecture. I've shown several pictures of the construction process. So yes, these were built during modern times. I have seen some people believe that, actually they don't believe that these are built in modern times. They think that this was there the whole time. This was not here the whole time. I could have added way more construction photos, but I think you can do that on your own time. But for now, this concludes our main tour of Ashgabat, Turkmenistan. I think here I got some bonus pictures coming up though that are pretty cool. They might jog my memory a little bit about the mass amounts of information I read about this place. For instance, let's take a ride on the bus. You see how clean the streets are, and then you see how there's nobody in the bus. The bus stations, they all apparently have to look different. Each bus station has to look different, and they all boast having air conditioning and a working television, each and every single one. I think there's only 4 buses that actually go throughout the town, so you might be sitting there for about a good 30 minutes to an hour, and it's good to have some nice air conditioning or heater whenever it's cold and snowing. That's one of the rare bus stops that were not air conditioned. And also another weird thing, look at these like telephone booths. I'm sure there's more around, but the person who was doing this tour just probably mentioned to you also no billboards are allowed. Those are the billboards, and they're usually of future businesses or buildings. Every little thing is just very unique and different and artistic, I would say. But then once you look closer, it's like you realize, oh, well, it's just very thin metal, and it's a bunch of them what makes it look nice. I don't know, it's not really the greatest craftsmanship for all these things. And really, behind it all, behind all this beautiful architecture, I mean, this is really what's there. Either in between these nice buildings or on the outskirts. Most of the people live here. Most of those buildings are vacant, those white marble buildings. I would say they're only 20 to 30% at capacity, that entire town. A lot of those big buildings are for one family, like for royalty, stuff like that, ambassadors. There might be only a few families that live in this entire building. You know what I mean? This country, they build things like that, like an underground walkway that nobody uses, and everybody still walks above to cross the street. So it's just like ass backwards. This whole country is just ass backwards. But I hope you enjoyed.